Joel Huber and his team at Duke University ran a peculiar experiment in 1981. They asked participants to choose between two beers, a cheaper option at $1.80 and a premium option at $2.60. Results split fairly evenly, roughly half chose each. Then Huber introduced a third beer, priced at $1.60. It was strictly inferior, cheaper, but noticeably worse quality than even the $1.80 option. No one bought it. And yet the moment it appeared on the menu, something shifted. Purchases of the $1.80 beer climbed. The $1.60 option hadn't sold a single unit, but it had altered what people decided to want. That's the decoy effect. And once you understand how it works, you'll find it embedded in almost every pricing structure you've ever encountered, from SaaS subscription tiers to restaurant menus to car dealerships to Amazon's streaming bundles. The psychology behind this is precise. Human beings don't evaluate options in isolation. We evaluate them relative to each other. Dan Ariely, behavioral economist at MIT and author of Predictably Irrational, calls this relativity. The idea that we almost never make choices based on absolute value, but based on comparative advantage. We're not asking, is this good? We're asking, is this better than that? This is a vulnerability in human cognition, and it's entirely predictable. Ariely demonstrated it with his own now famous example, using the Economist's subscription pricing. The magazine offered three options: a web-only subscription for $59, a print-only subscription for $125, and a combined print and web subscription, also for $125. The print-only and the combined plan cost exactly the same. Ariely surveyed MIT students. 16% chose the web-only plan. 0% chose print-only. 84% chose the combined plan. Then he ran the test again without the print-only option, just two choices: web for $59 or combo for $125. The result flipped. 68% now chose the cheaper web plan. Only 32% took the combo. The print-only option had generated zero direct revenue. But its presence had pushed 52 additional percentage points of buyers toward the $125 plan. That is the decoy. The mechanism works because the decoy makes a comparison obvious. Without it, choosing between web-only at $59 and the combo at $125 requires you to estimate the value of print on your own. How often you'd actually read a physical magazine, whether you want it, what it's worth to you. That's hard. But when print-only exists at $125 and the combo is also $125, you don't have to reason at all. The combo is objectively better. You feel like you're winning. Your brain takes the shortcut. This is why businesses design decoys deliberately. The goal isn't for anyone to choose the decoy. The goal is for the decoy to make another option feel irresistible. There are three types of decoys that appear most frequently in real business pricing. The first is the asymmetric dominance decoy, the one Huber originally documented. You place an option that is clearly inferior to one target option, but roughly comparable to the other. The target looks like an obvious winner by comparison, and sales flow toward it. This is the most common version in SaaS pricing. A starter plan with meaningfully fewer features than the Pro plan, but priced close enough to make the Pro plan feel like a bargain. The second type is the compromise decoy. You price 3 options at low, medium, and high. Research by Itamar Simonson at Stanford University in 1992 showed that people systematically avoid extremes. The cheapest option feels like a sacrifice. The most expensive feels like excess. The middle feels safe and reasonable. Simonson called this the extremeness aversion effect. Apple uses this with every iPhone lineup. Car manufacturers use it with trim levels. The premium option exists partly to make the mid-tier feel like the rational, non-extravagant choice, even when the mid-tier is already the most profitable margin item in the lineup. The third type is the phantom decoy, an option that's listed but unavailable. This one operates differently. A car dealership advertises a vehicle at a base price, but that exact configuration is never in stock. When you arrive, the salesperson steers you toward what's available, which costs significantly more. Your reference point was anchored low. The available car feels acceptable by comparison to your inflated expectations, even though it was always the actual product being sold. Understanding decoys changes how you build pricing. If you run a business with multiple tiers, you're almost certainly leaving money on the table if you haven't designed for this. The conventional approach is to list plans from cheapest to most expensive and let customers choose based on features. The strategic approach is to design the structure so the option you want customers to choose looks like an obvious win by comparison. There are practical guardrails. The decoy has to be real enough to be credible. A plan that's obviously a joke will make customers distrust the entire pricing page. The price gap between the decoy and the target can't be so large that the comparison doesn't register. Research from behavioral economist Richard Thaler at the University of Chicago suggests the decoy is most effective when it falls within 15 to 25% of the target price. Too cheap, and it anchors customer expectations too low. Too similar, and people may actually choose it, which defeats the purpose. The decoy effect also extends beyond pricing. It operates in product lineup design, real estate showings, negotiation, and hiring. When a hiring manager interviews a clearly underqualified candidate before meeting the target candidate, the target looks sharper by contrast. When a real estate agent shows 2 houses, one overpriced for the neighborhood, one correctly priced, the correctly priced house feels like a deal. When a negotiator opens with an extreme demand, any subsequent concession feels generous. The principle is identical across all of these. Context alters judgment, and context can be engineered. Behavioral economist Richard Thaler, in his 2018 book, The Choice Factory, documented a wine shop study that illustrates this with unusual clarity. The shop added a single bottle priced far above the rest of the inventory, with no expectation of selling it. Sales of the second most expensive wine doubled. The top bottle wasn't there to sell. It was there to make the second most expensive option look like the reasonable choice for someone who wanted quality without being reckless. The expensive decoy repositioned everything below it. This is the same logic that drives Rolls-Royce's place within the BMW Group portfolio. Very few people buy a Rolls-Royce, but its existence makes a $150,000 BMW feel almost modest. It recalibrates the entire scale. The product at the top of a range isn't always there to be purchased. Sometimes it's there to reposition everything below it. What separates businesses that use this intentionally from those that stumble into it accidentally is precision. Huber's original research identified a specific structural requirement for maximum decoy effect. The inferior option must be close to the target in one dimension, usually price, to invite comparison, but clearly inferior in another dimension, usually value or features. When both dimensions are equally balanced, customers hesitate. The decoy only works when one comparison is obvious and the alternative comparison feels irrelevant. Applied to a pricing page or subscription tiers, if you have two options, you're asking customers to make a hard decision. If you have three options designed correctly, you're guiding them toward the one you want. If you have four or more, you risk triggering what psychologist Barry Schwartz documented in The Paradox of Choice. Too many options leads to analysis paralysis and reduced conversion. The consistent finding across behavioral pricing research is that three options, with one functioning as either a decoy or a compromise anchor, produces the highest conversion rates toward the target. You don't need to be manipulative to apply this. You need to be honest about the fact that people don't choose products in a vacuum. They choose relative to alternatives. If you're offering genuine value, structuring your pricing so that value is obvious by contrast is not deception, it's clarity. You're removing the cognitive friction that sits between a customer and the decision that actually serves them. The businesses that are bad at this are the ones that list features and prices and expect customers to reason their way to the right answer. The businesses that are good at this design pricing structures where the right answer feels self-evident. One approach is optimistic about human rationality. The other is accurate about it. Subscribe to Business Decoded for more real business strategies every week.